Hello and welcome back to my RC channel. I'm AndyRC and today I'm going to be taking a look at the Jumper T12 Plus. So previously on the channel I reviewed the Jumper T12 and now they have released this Plus version, and there's not a lot different from it actually, so it's not going to be a long video. They have changed the colour of course, but they have also added Hall effect gimbals, which of course was missing from the original T12, and I think it costs around about $20 more. I will link it all in the below if you want to check out the price. And if you bought the original T12 you might be a little bit annoyed because at the time that came out there was no mention of a Hall effect version. It was just assumed that they had left them out to keep the price down. However, if you do have one of those transmitters, you can now buy the gimbals separately, and I believe they will fit the majority of the Jumper transmitters. Again, I'll link that in the below. It does detail the transmitters that these Hall effect gimbals support. But yes, I've converted this one to mode 1, and it's got the multi-protocol module in the back of it. I'll also link to my original review because I flew Crossfire with it, and that is using the CRSF protocol, so it does full Crossfire unlike the Deviation TX versions. So that's the T8 SGV2 and the T8 SGV2 Plus. Oh man, there's been so many versions of it. Another thing that's changed as well is the firmware. There was a bit of an issue with them using OpenTX. So it's still OpenTX, but it's now got its own branch and it's called Jumper TX. But this one has come with OpenTX on it. You can see the logo just about. I think that's just because I've had it a while. And the reason I've had it a while is because it came with this guy. This is the Jumper Dart. Now sadly it doesn't look like they're selling this anymore, or it's sold out in most places anyways. It is a sort of foamy paper aeroplane style model, but it's really great actually. I've been flying this a lot. I've had loads of fun with it. We've got two tiny servos there. There is a build video for it which I will link in the below. It's just a 1-cell battery and we've got a propeller on the back there, but yeah, we have got full Alavon setup here and it's a load of fun to fly. We've got a little 3-channel receiver here and everything just plugs in, so your two servos go in here and also your motor plugs in, and then you've got to make sure that the battery goes on this side because this thing is so light. What happens is when you throttle right up, the torque of the motor causes it to turn in that direction, so it's important to have the battery on this side and it sort of acts as a counterbalance and then it flies pretty straight. But I've been waiting for a decent day to fly it because it will just get blown away in any kind of wind whatsoever. It's really designed for indoors. It comes with this USB charger and you actually get an entire spare airframe because obviously, you know, foam can get damaged. This one's damaged a little bit here, but I'll just plug it in and you'll see we have got full controls here, and I've set it up in OpenTX as well. So this is mode 1, but you'll see we have got ailerons here and elevator, and then of course Alavons when you use them both at the same time, and then got the motor going as well. So I'll just show you how I've got the mixer set up for this model. I do still think that the button layout is fiddly for OpenTX. It works great with Deviation TX, but with OpenTX I think the placement of the functions is really strange and I always find myself pressing the wrong button. So to go into the model menu, it's a short press of this one here, and then we've got a cancel button to get out of there. To get into the radio menu, it's a long press of that same one. So I want a short press here, and then this is the page button here, and that'll go through all the different screens. However, this one is not page back, it's a long press of the same button to go page back. so I always find myself pressing the wrong button there to go back. Anyways, the mixer. So channel 1 is aileron, and if I go into there and edit, so we've got the source as aileron and then the weight as -50. I'll just come out of there, and then underneath we've got the elevator, so you just create another one there underneath. And can you see there we've got insert before or after, and if I go into edit there, the weight is +50, and then if I go back and back again, channel 2, we have got aileron and the weight at -50, and then underneath we've got the elevator, so that is also at -50 for the weight, and then back again, and channel 3 is the throttle. Now I don't know if it's just this version of OpenTX, but there was no wizard that came up when I went to create a new model. But you know, I've done a few wings, I've done a few elevons now, so yeah, I was able to get this set up. But anyways, let's go and take this thing for a fly and see how it performs with the new T12 Plus. Alrighty, let's try and have a go with this guy. I've had to wait for a very specific day. It's currently -1, and yeah, there doesn't seem to be much wind around, so let's try this. I'm gonna go up on the throttle, not too much though, and then just let it go and see what happens. It flies! So the reason I didn't go too much up on the throttle is, as I suspected, the torque of the motor actually causes the plane to try and turn on its own. So I'm sort of having to counteract that when I go up on the throttle. I guess the thing just really is a little bit too light for its motor, but you know, that's a characteristic, I would say. There is a little bit of a breeze around because it's getting knocked around, but yeah, this thing's actually flying pretty nice. I'm putting rudder in even though it hasn't got a rudder. I don't think it's gonna have enough power to be aerobatic, but we can have a try. I think I'm gonna have to give it a pretty big nosedive to do like a loop or anything like that. Come off the throttle, dive. Yes! Just make sure, oh, that was a bit airy. Just make sure you come off the throttle, otherwise, yeah, that torque of the motor. Yeah, so it can be mildly aerobatic. What about a roll? See if I can use the torque of that. Yeah, there we go. You can use the torque of the motor sort of to work with it. You could do a roll as well. I mean, this guy is really meant for flying indoors. Just the slightest bit of wind and it's ducking all over the place. I think I'll stay over here where I'm more shielded by the trees. I think this thing is gonna fly for ages, you know. It weighs next to nothing, and we haven't really got, you know, much in terms of, you know, amp draw, should I say. But here it is, working nicely with this Jumper T12 Plus. and even though it's freezing, I'm getting a little bit of heat from the sun still. It's not completely over. Yeah, if I keep it at around about half throttle, yeah, the breeze got it there. It's very early in the morning here as well, and yeah, I can just feel the wind now starting to kick in, and I imagine we might get to a point where this thing won't fly anymore, because I tried to fly it on a windy day and the wind just blew it away like, you know, it was a piece of rubbish or something. Trying to stay out the sun as well, because it's very low on the horizon. If it goes through there, it's curtains. It'd be great for indoors though. I'm hoping, fingers crossed, to do a bit of indoor flying this year. It might be the only option. We have had a great summer though, I have to say. Yeah, and the motor just losing a little bit of power now. I'm trying to do those loops and it's not having it. And if I try and do a roll, there we go, it does it. Only really in one direction though, because you have to go up on the throttle, and then, as I say, the torque of that motor. Oh, I don't know though. Let's see if I can do a roll in the other direction. Yeah, you can. This thing's great. It is great. It's the most fun I've had for a while. It's nice to change it up from a copter. That breeze has just died down a little bit as well. Famous last words. Trying to get it in close for the camera. This thing's tiny anyways. But I imagine, you know, little indoor sports hall, this thing would be smooth as anything. Look at that. Perfect. I think getting the balance right is very important. Getting that battery on the opposite side to the motor, very important. Otherwise it's just gonna turn in the same direction as the torque of the motor, and I have got a little bit of left trim in as well, but once it's got that set up, flies great. And we've got the sun out, got a little bit of frost. Beautiful, beautiful way to spend the morning. I reckon, you know, 10-minute flight time, maybe even more with this thing. Could you FPV it? I know, everyone's going to be asking that. I don't know. You might need to give it more power then. 2S battery maybe? I don't know, it might be pushing it. Be interesting though, wouldn't it? Not enough power for a loop, but I'm glad I got that in. Pretty much full throttle there now, so I think we're getting close to the end of the flight. But man, it surprised me. If you'd have told the 7-year-old me when I used to come out playing on these fields, it'd be one day that you can fly a remote control paper aeroplane style model, I would not have believed you. Well, there you go. That is my video on the Jumper T12 Plus and the Jumper Dart. I'll put a link in the description if you wish to get them. And as always, thanks so much for watching. Please continue to subscribe. Cheers.